When you're ready.
My question is, how can we build resilient supply chains? Supply chains in the recent decade have been a strenuous topic to say the least, arguably with the biggest effect coming during the COVID-19 pandemic, where the global supply chain had a massive breakdown. Though breakdowns are seen quite often in certain industries, the COVID-19 pandemic was a widespread international impact that led to the control of countries losing lots of global networks as the supply chain crumbled. Though it is seen by certain spontaneous events such as hurricanes and tsunamis, you can see there are also certain tensions that come, as we can see, from the U.S.-China trade war that led to a huge impact and certain damages. Though we haven't found certain ways to combat the high impact, low probability circumstances, we have found certain ways to impact, such as trade. But the idea has been popping up in organizations in building their resilience, so they're able to successfully confront unforeseen circumstances as a core element of success. Supply chain resilience no longer implies the ability to just manage risk, but is the ability to be able to surpass your competitors by managing risk so well that you're able to succeed while your competitors fail. And now we shift to look at the efficiency. Which has become a cornerstone of production, and standalone in the industry for decades. It's passed hard by what we can see from the issues is how it was broken down by our just-in-time system for factories and stuff, where supplies would get there just when they were needed and they were not stockpiled. So when industry shut down due to the lockdown, it led to companies being short-staffed and short-equipped. But other issues that played a factor were Brexit, regulatory restrictions, which came from the Britain leaving the EU before COVID, but had lasting impacts. When the Suez Canal was blocked by a cargo ship, along with Hurricane Ida and along with other energy shortages. And all of these came together to cripple the supply and create huge demands. Here's a better look at what the damage that the blockage of the Suez Canal did. The canal was blocked for nearly a week, leading to over $60 billion in lost revenue, coming to the amount of almost $10 billion a day. And though it doesn't seem small, it was 12% of the global trade, which also increased the rates of shipping. Another way the breakdown was the way that the U.S. and other like countries that are very powerful offshore labor, because it creates a distance between raw materials have to travel before they get to their production, and the U.S. does this to cut corners and find cheaper ways for labor. One way we see this is in Taiwan and South Korea, as they produce over 70% of the world's semiconductors. And though we might not know what semiconductors are, they are used to make computer chips and other high-tech products, which created a shortage for automobiles and electronic manufacturers, as they were at a lack of computer chips. Here ways that we can mitigate the effects of the critical threats. First, we need to reshore production, which is what I said earlier, as we need to get rid of offshoring and bring back production to the U.S. so we can better support ourselves in time of need. One example of a company that did this is Ford, when they brought back their new battery development center to Michigan in their old plants. This was done in the wake of everyone moving to more electric cars instead of gas-powered cars, so that we can have a better supply of batteries here in the U.S. Next is we need to diversify suppliers. By consuming more inventory, we are still not spaced out enough to be able to completely mitigate the risk of significant disruptions. This should also be used to increase inventory, as I said earlier, the just-in-time supply chain was completely broken during COVID when everything shut down. This requires building inventories at critical points in the timeline so we can be better prepared and weather the storms of diverse crises. Where we can see this is when there was the E. coli outbreak in the lettuce production, which led to grocery stores and other places being completely out and no one able to get lettuce. These ideas will help release the choke points, threatening the room for more response, and effect on business capabilities, replacing or augmenting supply sources in response to trade wars and tariffs, along with restrictions, while having an agile manufacturing process that will reduce the redundancies and streamline product inputs. Shifting to take a look at the College Board, I use two sources, them being the resistance of Haitian survivors that shows the power of coming together and how resilience can be strength, and that numbers and coming together as a global population and using each other in times of struggle can help show how reconstruction and the use of policies and international aid can support a time of need. And I also took a look at the dark side of resilience and how it demonstrates the challenge, and I used it more as a counter argument to the development of resilience, and how it is a really hard concept to really grasp in business, where it can really support your industry immensely, or it could hurt your industry by crushing it. And there's a good role to develop risks, and the highest risk being denial. Production is only one of the aspects driving resilience in supply chains, but since it's not realistic to expect all production to be brought back to American soil, government should be able to work to establish better regulatory collaboration and harmonized organizations. These should be to the mutual benefit of all parties involved. That is to increase the international cooperation and partnering strength and allies in the supply chain resilience. Overall, these strategies will come at a significant cost, and supply chain fragility must be addressed in order to demand and restore customer confidence. We must acknowledge the earlier signs inefficiency, undermining resilience, and understand businesses' futures need both efficiency and resilience in co-op, as well as strong visionary leaders ready to learn and apply these lessons to strengthen the resilience of supply chains.
Hey Ben, a couple of questions. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the process?
Well, taking a look at some of my sources, at one point I was going to focus on more like the different drugs and stuff because I was focusing on parts of COVID, but then I was only able to find one really detailed source that really illustrated it, but I just wanted to use a different combination. So I just changed it from more focusing on how can we fix one chain of supply line to all chains of supply lines.
Okay, thank you. What are the implications of your findings to the community?
It's just that we need to make sure that we are making sure we're focusing on local community organizations and not branching out so far where we're just ordering and forcing companies like Nike and stuff to produce overseas, and make sure we can bring products back to the U.S. and making sure we can better support our communities.
Okay, thank you. A round of applause.